So welcome to the F1Wonderful podcast, where we don't have music and we're still trying to kind of figure out how to do this.
Episode 1.
Episode 1.
I think we call it the pilot.
This is the pilot episode. We got to make sure we get picked up by the studios. But yeah. So I'm Owen. This is Garrett, and we got producer Jamie over here behind the glass. He's taking care of us sound wise and music wise once we get it. Figure that out. But yeah, so British Grand Prix, episode 1, man.
Silverstone.
Crazy Silverstone, yeah. Crazy ass race.
One of the better races of the year.
Before going into it, what did you expect, Garrett?
I expected madness, I tell you. I didn't really expect. I had a feeling Verstappen his winning streak was going to come to an end. I thought we were going to see a bounce back from Ferrari. They've been struggling it seems like the last few months after having such a strong off season and hyped as the team to beat going into the year. But really, since Leclerc won at Australia, we really haven't seen too much from Ferrari. And I thought Silverstone was the best place for them to bounce back. And boy, they sure did.
Well, Leclerc's had a lot of poles. He just hadn't been able to finish them off.
Well, that's been the issue with Ferrari this year, I think.
The
strategy with Leclerc especially, but reliability more than anything. It seems like at Canada a couple of weeks ago they put together a clean race. But prior to that, it was either Leclerc or Sainz getting out due to some engine failure.
We'll get into what happened today with Ferrari.
Oh, I'm sure we will.
It was fun. But so just kind of to start it off, the British Grand Prix, we had lots of celebrities on the grid. We got Gordon Ramsay down there.
He's a big fan.
Tom Cruise is down there. Who else? Who else was down there?
Yesterday, I think there was a Keanu Reeves sighting.
There was, right? We had a what movie is this? Point Break.
Point Break. I don't think he was there filming Point Break though. I think he was there just as a huge fan.
No, but that's your favorite movie, bro. Point Break with Keanu Reeves, right?
Yeah. So of course I was happy to see Keanu there.
Yeah. Big race fan.
It seems like it because he was sitting on the fake pit road out there.
Huge race fan.
Yeah.
Huge race fan.
Yeah, Tom Cruise, I think he was a Mercedes fan. But I remember Silverstone had some fans last year, too.
Well, Tom Cruise is going to have a movie coming out, right? An F1 movie. Producer Jamie looked that up. But I think Tom Cruise and Lewis Hamilton are working together on an F1 movie.
I think so. I don't know if it was Tom Cruise or not. I was getting my hopes up that it was Keanu working on that. But maybe.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Tom Cruise would make more sense.
Yeah. Tom Cruise. Be a good F1 driver, I think. At least on video.
They did Days of Thunder quite well.
Yeah.
So you're talking about Point Break. Well, I also liked Days of Thunder. They were made the same year, I believe. Tom Cruise and Keanu. So yes, two of my favorite early '90s celebrities are showing up to F1 races in 2022.
It looks like Lewis Hamilton is going to produce an F1 movie starring Brad Pitt. Is what I'm saying.
Brad Pitt. Well. We were close. Wow. Two good-looking fellas, though. I gotta tell you. If I'm 60 years old, looking like that motherfucker. All right. So we'll start it off. Lights out. Crofty gets your blood flowing, right? Well, let me ask you this, Garrett. Not like this is an interview or anything. I'll tell you my origin stories, but what's your F1 origin story? Like, how did you become a fan?
Oh well, I think that's a good question because I think that's what I think a lot of American fans in these last couple of years have become a huge F1 fan, mainly through the Netflix series Drive to Survive.
Yeah.
Not to mention with the pandemic a couple of years ago and everyone locking down, I think it introduced a lot of people to sim racing and exposed them to the world of F1. And so it was just one other thing to do, one more racing series to watch. And I had always followed F1 as a kid. I knew who the Michael Schumachers of the world were, but yeah, it wasn't really until 2 or 3 years ago where I watched my first F1 race, and yeah, I've been hooked ever since.
Telling you, man.
I think
Hooked.
I think the Drive to Survive series though really helped as far as learning who all the drivers were and kind of how the organization or how the teams are set up, where you got 10 different owners, 2 cars. And,
Yeah.
a pretty simple structure at that, but
Yeah.
then once you become a fan, once you become a hardcore fan, I don't think you can watch that series anymore because then you quickly realize that it's got a little too much drama.
It's got a lot of drama. It does.
Yes.
Yeah. My origin, my first F1 race was the Vettel Hamilton call it debacle, where the FIA got involved and took a 5-second penalty from Hamilton. I think it was Canada. And
2019 Canadian Grand Prix. Yes.
2019, yep. And so Vettel changed the signs over from first to second. It was hilarious. And so I just started kind of watching NASCAR with you. You're a big NASCAR guy. And kind of, I mean, that was it for me. Like, I saw that F1 race. It was exciting, a lot of drama. And I was hooked, man.
How about Vettel though? Have you seen his hair?
Bro,
Those
it's getting out of hand.
those transplants he got last
Bro.
off season have done wonders.
Dude, he totally got transplanted.
Did you hear that he drove Nigel Mansell's, I believe, 1992
Yeah.
Canon replica
He did.
this weekend? I didn't get to see
It
a
was
replay of it, but
was it the Benetton? No.
No, it was a Williams.
Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the Canon car. That's one of my favorite old F1 paint schemes.
Yeah.
Apparently, Sebastian got to drive
Is
it.
that the blue and the yellow?
Yeah, blue, yellow,
Yeah, white.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good stuff. Man.
1992 championship winning.
I need to get
car.
that paint scheme for my iRacing car, bro.
No, talk to me. I've got it. Actually. I've got the
Do
hex
you?
codes.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay. So we
Yeah.
just need to get Garrett's codes for the paint schemes for iRacing. But anyway, so all right, back to the British Grand Prix. That's what we're here for, kind of. So starts off, we got skip the grid, right? We got Sainz in first.
You got a Ferrari, Red Bull
got
front
the-
row. You got Sainz starting pole with Verstappen on the outside.
Yeah, we got Sainz in first. Verstappen started P2. Leclerc started P3. Perez, and then Hamilton in fifth. Now Hamilton is a crowd favorite at Silverstone. He's British, 7-time world champion. So people expect big things out of Hamilton here in fifth, right?
Yeah, well, I heard this interesting nugget going into the weekend that this is the 10th race of the season, and that this is the last 2 times Lewis Hamilton has gone into the 10th race of the season winless.
Oh yeah.
He has gone on to win that 10th race.
Yeah.
So I was curious if that would. Silverstone is one of his best tracks. So I think that's. I mean, he's good everywhere, but I believe he's got 8 wins here at his home circuit. So there was a lot of hype for him to do well.
So one thing I did before this race was I went back and watched some of the old vintage ones via the F1 app, TV app thing.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I watch it all the
Free
time.
promo for F1 TV. Good stuff, man. I really enjoy it, actually. So you can go back and watch old archived races, right? So I went back, watched old archived races. And, like, Hamilton has won, like, 10 in a row, it seems like, since, like, 2012 or some shit.
I think he's won
A lot.
around 50% of the races since 2013.
So we got Norris in sixth, Lando. I'm
Another hometown.
love Lando, man. Cool dude. Another hometown hero there at Silverstone. Another Brit. Alonso, one of crowd favorites, just I think all around the world, right?
The sentimental favorite. He's the oldest driver
He
out
is.
there now in the field. I think he's got the most starts of all time.
So he had a good quality. I guess he started 7th. Russell started 8th. We'll get to Russell pretty quickly here in a second.
The third hometown favorite.
Third hometown favorite. Man, there's a lot of Brits on this grid. I tell you what, if we can get a USA guy up there at some point,
Oh, I tell you,
Be cool, man.
That's a whole other topic. for
that is
different
a
day.
whole another topic for a whole different day, but that would be
I
cool.
can't wait till we get to that.
That would be cool. Yeah, we'll do that as a bonus episode for all the Patreon
For our VIP subscribers.
and VIP. Yeah, I mean it'll probably be we'll post it probably free for everybody, but be on the lookout. All right, so then we got Zoe in ninth. Again, we'll talk about him real quick, but
Zhou
first
Guanyu.
Chinese driver, right?
Yes, first Chinese driver in the F1 circuit.
Yep. Latifi, a Williams, by God,
That
starts
was
10th.
the story of Saturday.
That was the
I
qualifying.
think that was
story.
his first third round appearance.
Yeah.
I was happy.
Other than the rain in qualifying, like Latifi getting into Q3 was the qualifying.
Proven he can put a lap down every now.
So that's the top 10 on the grid. You know, we can go a little bit deeper. Ricardo started 14th. Not a good result.
Was Ricardo even in the race today? I don't think I saw him.
I think we need producer Jamie probably to pull up just the final standings because it was such a crazy race. Like, where did Ricardo finish? But he started 14th. Most of the race, I think I saw him like in 13th or so. Sonoda, was 13th. There's, Ocon's.
Ricardo finished 13th.
Surprises here, Ricardo is out pretty early. Surprises. The one thing I did from qualifying, that Verstappen spin, man. Did you see that?
Yes, I did. As a matter of fact, I did, and I was like, "Oh, there goes his chance at the pole."
There goes his chance. But he had another. But I swear, he did that spin, and then he's still with like second fastest.
Yeah, he's proven to have some really good qualifying in the rain.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I don't think it ended up making a difference for the race today because he was able to get up front and lead some laps.
Now, was this so? Sainz is on pole. Was this Sainz's first pole?
It was. So, and there was I remember this quite well before the race started. Crofty was saying he was trying to become, I guess, the first driver to get their first pole and first win on the same race weekend since Pastor Maldonado. Thank you. Yeah, I botched his name. Sorry, Pastor. Great, fantastic first name though.
Yeah.
Pastor. But he got his first pole and his first win on the same weekend in Spain 10 years ago.
Okay.
So
speaking of Crofty, man, I just that dude will get you excited for a race.
it takes skill. I don't know how. I'm sure he gets paid quite well.
I'm sure
not many people can announce.
The lights out thing is great. It's beautiful. So Sainz on pole, starts first, right off the line, lights out, away we go, as Crofty would say. I don't know if that's fucking trademarked or some shit, but sorry. And we're off, right? First corner, Verstappen overtakes Sainz for the lead. In my mind, I'm like, all right, race over. Verstappen drives off into the sunset. Like, it's a good race. Good job, Sainz on pole. Game over, right?
Wrong.
Some of the craziest stuff I've seen in an F1 race. Just 8 cars back, bro. So Russell and Zoe, 8th and 9th. Joe? I think American is Joe.
Zhou Guanyu.
Guanyu.
It was quite scary because I remember as you were talking about with Verstappen taking the lead,
Yeah.
you thought he's checking out, but the next thing you see, they change the shot and you see one of the cars just in the backdrop, just upside down, just flying down the track, and you're like, oh, holy crap, what's going on there? I thought it was Valtteri Bottas.
I thought it was Vettel, or not Vettel. I thought it was Russell at first. I saw the Mercedes out the corner of my eye, and then like you said, the camera switched on you.
Yeah,
and all you see is like this upside down car skidding along in the gravel, and it's like, holy crap.
A car upside down is never good, but they didn't really show a replay of it for some time, so that's what got me a little nervous.
All right, so walk me through it. So you got how does Joe end up upside down? So you got Vettel is kind of to the right of Joe, And I
Oh,
think
no,
Gasly's like in between them, right?
No, it's Sonoda and Russell. Russell actually caused it.
Sonoda, that's who it was.
Russell was kind of moving towards the left, I guess, to arc into turn one, and
So is it
he
Russell's
brushed
fault?
into Sonoda. From my perspective, yes, it looked like it was Russell's the one that could have.
Yeah, I think you're right, man.
Yeah, so it's just disappointing for Russell. But at that point, then you're worried about. Russell gets into Sonoda, and then Sonoda gets into Zhou Guan Yu, and then he goes upside down, and then he
Flips over.
Yeah, it was this. Still,
Nice.
having watched every race for the last couple of years, that the one that reminded me most of was the Grosjean wreck. The Grosjean, I mean, in the sense that I was worried about whether the driver's going to be able to walk away.
Yeah.
You didn't really get the camera angles on this wreck, though. You didn't.
Well, they waited a long time to. They didn't even show Joe's car like for 10 minutes after the wreck.
So I went on Twitter and was doing a little digging, and I was able to find a picture of where his car was at, and that's what was really scary. It was in between it fell in between the tire barrier and the fence separating the fans.
On his head for like 200 yards, and then it flips over and flips over the barrier, over the tire barrier, catches the fence, and then he's like jammed between the tire barrier and the fence. And that kid walks away. It's a miracle.
Yeah, they didn't even show him getting out, though, I don't think, did they?
We didn't. He may not have walked away. I think he did go out on a stretcher, but he's apparently fine.
Yeah, he was able to post on Instagram later a selfie of him, so I think that's a great sign. And
these cars, man, the technology that they have to like
the Halo
keep those
saves
people
lives,
alive, man.
That Halo, I forget what year was the first year. I think it was 2017 or 2018, and a lot of people were critical of it. Looked ugly. I think the drivers had to get used to it, but it certainly helped the drivers in today's race, and it's saved a few lives since it's been around. So
I think it saved Joe's life, man. Otherwise, that dude's skidding on his head.
I just want to know what happened to Albon.
Oh, so Albon at the start, he slowed down,
but he was going a lot slower.
Yeah, he slowed
He didn't
down
go upside down
because of the Joe wreck. He slowed down, and then I think it was, I don't know who hit him from behind. It may have been one of the Aston Martins or one of the Alpines. Hit him from behind, and so he goes straight 90-degree to the right into the concrete wall, not a tire barrier, concrete wall at pit road. And so they had to take him to the hospital.
Oh, concrete walls. Yeah, that's
yeah.
You don't hear about those too much in NASCAR anymore, but those were always the ones that would get you.
Yeah. So, but I think Albon is okay from what I understand.
Yes, yes. He
big wreck.
He was posting on social media later in the day too. So.
Not even lap one, like corner one. So what they do apparently, and I didn't know this, is when they throw the red flag that quickly, and they restart the race, they restart it using the order from the start of the race. Not so like Verstappen passing signs didn't even matter because they come back and restart as like the original grid. I didn't know that.
I didn't know it either until it happened. So with F1, they have all these rules.
They just kind of make up rules as they go, right?
I think they do.
I think that one may have been in the rule book though.
It was. I believe there was a race in the last couple of years where they implied this difference. But this happened so early that there wasn't even a sector they could get to. Because I think had all the drivers made it to the first sector part of the track, then it would have counted.
Is that what the rule is?
That's my understanding. That's what my sources tell me.
Gotcha. Huh. Well, it was weird. I didn't expect it. So restart in the same order.
After a 45-minute red flag or so, which I was not expecting.
Oh man, it was a long red flag.
I was glad everyone was okay.
And like I said, they didn't show those cars for a while.
I wake up pretty early for these races, so I was almost thinking I might go back to sleep.
Yeah. So in America, we get the race at like 8 a.m. usually. in the UK, they get it like 2:00 in the afternoon. It's like they're, home.
Sucks for them when there's a race out here in the States because
I think
probably already
I think it's like 9:00 at night out in the UK when the race over here.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but all right, so we're restarting again, right? And Max basically, well, it was a good battle, actually. Sainz almost pushed Max off the track at one point at the beginning.
Yeah, I thought we were gonna have a sequel to the year before when it was Max and Lewis.
Man.
At Silverstone, it looked like for a second, but Sainz did a lot better job on that second start of the race to hold off Verstappen. I think he was a lot more aggressive, and yeah, he held him off for quite a few more laps.
Yeah.
Than just the initial start.
Yeah, and then after a while, Max did pass him.
Yeah, Sainz got a little squirrely on one of the turns. I forget which corner. It seemed like something straight from iRacing though, where he just lost control, went off track, and then Verstappen was able to get by him for the lead. I still think he held on to second at that point. Leclerc was still in third, but they had to get going at this point too, because this is when Lewis Hamilton.
This is when Perez and Leclerc got together, right?
They got together on the. This is going back to the first lap.
They did on the first lap.
Yeah, they got together on the first lap.
So much going on, man.
Well, it all happens in the first lap. And
so much going on,
and then it's a lot of.
It's kind of, yeah.
Then it spreads out, and then you get something juicy.
Once you calm down, like after 20 laps, it feels like it finally calmed down. But those first 20 were nuts.
I think this whole race actually had a lot going on because there was never one driver in a lead of more than 5 seconds.
Perez and Leclerc make contact in the second start. I got that in my notes.
Yeah, first lap on the second start. Leclerc, his front wing, noticeably had a piece off of it, but it didn't seem to impact him at all. Perez, though,
he was going faster than Sainz was.
He was.
And at one point, the Ferraris, there was mixed messaging, it seemed like, because they told Leclerc, yeah, you can fight Sainz for the lead. And then at one point, they come back on the radio to Sainz, and they're like, hey, Sainz, if you don't go, a minute 32 seconds, you got to let him through, man. Like,
yeah, they kept mentioning target
team orders.
times.
That's what they call team orders.
Yeah, and there's always going to be team orders. It was a unique situation for Ferrari because these team orders were going against Mercedes at this time with Lewis Hamilton, because by this point I think Verstappen had his issue where he was no longer in contention. But yeah, normally in these scenarios you'll see one the team with 2 drivers. They'll tell one guy to usually go for it and have the other guy be the guinea pig on strategy or to block whoever's trying to impede their 1-2 finish. And that was what was interesting with Ferrari. It seemed like at times they wanted Sainz to keep the lead, and then with Leclerc they didn't want him to pass, so they had Leclerc do the short pit or run long. I think 6 laps longer than Sainz.
Yeah. So I think Sainz came in like normal, right? And then Leclerc overcut Sainz, and Hamilton overcut everybody.
Well, he ran longer,
but it didn't work.
Yeah, he was trying to do the overcut, but then when he came back out, he was still behind the 2 Ferraris. He had the freshest tires, but he was behind a bit further back than I thought he would have been. At this point, though, this is when Leclerc and Sainz were having their own battle.
Yeah, they were.
I think they did eventually let Leclerc get ahead of Sainz.
Are you cool with team orders, or do you want to see a fight?
Oh, well, I think everyone always wants to see a fight, but I think that's the interesting thing with Formula One. That's a unique dynamic, I think, where you have those team orders. That there's usually the one team that you have as your top team, your first string team, if you will. And Ferrari, I think Leclerc's been their boy. As I said earlier, with their struggles the last couple months, I think they've been more open to having Sainz kind of be the, have.
They just signed Sainz to a new contract at the beginning of the year, like before he
Yeah, both
You know,
of
had
them,
a
both of
few
them are
bad
locked
races.
there for a while. So I think that they'll probably play it. I think it still remains to be seen. I think that there's going to be. I think after this race, it might be time to kind of question Leclerc and if he's going to be the boy at Ferrari because he's signed there for I think at least for a couple more years, and he's expected to be their top dog. But I think he's been pretty. No doubt, he's been frustrated with Ferrari these last few weeks and how their races have unfolded, and it seems like Sainz kind of got the better end of the deal on some of the stuff that's going on. So team orders. I think it back to that point. I think it brings a unique, interesting dynamic, and I think with Ferrari,
Do you get team orders in NASCAR?
in NASCAR, not really. You don't want drivers. You never want to wreck a teammate in NASCAR or really any racing series. So I think generally they'll race a little more lenient with each other, but not like how they do in Formula One, where they tell you, poor Valtteri Bottas. He had it the worst.
God, that poor guy.
Valtteri, pull over.
And now he's getting beat by Joe in qualifying.
Well,
2 races in a row. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. But
Valtteri's having a great year.
Yeah, he's having a pretty good year. So, all right. So, I forget what lap we're on, but Sainz and Leclerc have their little battle. Max has a puncture. He's sitting out front. He's already passed Sainz. He's sitting out front. He gets a puncture. He has to come into the pits. Comes back out of the pits in 6th. Still having issues. Something on his car is really screwed up.
He was never quite the same after that pit stop. And I don't know that they ever really figured out what exactly it was. I think the engineers at Red Bull did, but it didn't look like it was a tire.
Apparently he ran over a piece of whatever.
Carbon fiber.
There you go. That word. Carbon fiber. And from, somebody else's wreck. And it punctured his tire. And it also caused damage to the floor where I guess it wasn't getting nearly the downforce that it used to be getting. So that screwed up his whole race. I think he finished like 8th, which was fun. We'll get to that battle in a little bit. But that end of the race with the last lap between Max and Schumi.
That was a big turning point in the race because Verstappen, he's won 6 races already this year. He hasn't been as dominant as he was the year before, but he's also had some races this year where once he's out front, he runs away with it.
Yeah.
So this opened the door for.
Well, he had how many wins in a row, right? 4 or 5.
Red Bull as a team, I think had won 6 or 7 in a row.
Yeah.
Verstappen had won the last 2, I believe, Baku in Canada, and then Perez had won Monaco.
Oh, yeah.
So Red Bull as a team, that they were on quite a winning streak. But yeah, so with Verstappen going out, it definitely opened things up. And when he went out, Perez had pitted with that incident with Leclerc, and he was down, I think, as low as 16th at one point.
Perez came out, like last almost.
Yeah, because it was he pitted, I think, on the 4th lap,
6th lap. Yeah.
Yeah, very very early on.
But yeah, so he came out. Basically, his race was over at that point too, right? I mean, that's hard to come back from.
It looked like it was going to be a pretty bad day for Red Bull at that point.
And then you got the 2 Ferraris just running out front with no worries in the world, nothing to worry about.
Oh, I think they were worried. Hamilton, after 15 laps or so, was running them down.
That is Mercedes back, bro. It looked fast, did it not? I thought it was fast, man. At one point in the race, about halfway through, I said, Hamilton's gonna end up winning this motherfucker. Like,
I thought Hamilton
I thought he had a very good chance.
Today. And I don't know that I'd say Mercedes is back. Maybe their porpoising issues have kind of gone away a little bit. What I noticed with Hamilton,
different track though, it's smoother.
A lot smoother.
They
didn't seem to have this was the first race where they showed long run pace,
Yeah.
and they still lacked short run speed. They haven't qualified in the top 3 all year, so I think 4th or 5th has been their better starts of the season.
Yeah.
But this was the first time that we saw long run speed out of Mercedes. I think it's too early to say that they're back, but I think they're turning the corner. Really hard to believe that these were the first laps Lewis Hamilton's led all year.
He did lead laps.
He led several, yes.
Hot diggity dog.
It took me back to the last couple years.
I'm not even gonna lie. About halfway through, I was like, let him win, man. Like,
I think a lot of
give him another British Grand Prix. Like,
I think everyone at the
it's
track
about time we get Mercedes back in the hunt, right?
I think everyone at the track was certainly pulling for him, and I think as a fan, you want to see more manufacturers.
Man, they really hated Max They were cheering every time that dude got passed.
That's okay. You know what track they're going to.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, well, he's going to be the home crowd favorite at the next race.
I think I saw Lewis had won 7 of the last 8.
7 of the last 8.
Yeah.
At Silverstone.
Yeah, up until obviously today.
Bro,
That sounds about right.
dominant.
Very
Yeah.
good there. Yeah.
I mean, he had the pace to win today.
Yeah,
Mercedes did.
I
Who knows what would have happened if Russell was able to stay in the
I
race?
tell you, in a lot of ways, this race seemed like a sequel to last year's race at Silverstone.
So apparently, did you hear what happened with Russell then? Well, he got in the wreck,
Yeah.
but then Russell apparently, so the good dude that Russell is, right? Good old, nice guy Russ, Georgia boy, jumps up out of his car, sprints over to check on Joe, man. Make sure that cat's okay. And he tells the marshal, don't touch my car. Don't touch my car. What do the marshals do? They pick up his car and put it on a flatbed. Now he can't come back in the race.
To be fair,
I'm okay with it. I mean, it was his fault. Joe, almost died. But
if you saw Russell's car, there's no way that thing was racing.
he wasn't
anyway.
racing again?
And that's probably what the marshals said.
So that's Russell just being playing the media.
That's George. I think just putting on a show. I can't
They do that,
question.
man.
I can't question someone wanting to go check on another driver.
They
But
do
I mean,
that.
There was I don't know how many marshals already running to his aid at that point. What's a driver gonna do?
Yeah, what's George gonna do? I don't know. But
Yeah.
anyways,
he was in the news a little bit this week because I guess he's been booed before, and
who George?
yeah, and he was saying what gives that fan the right to boo me? And I'm thinking, well, he probably paid for a
The
ticket. That's what he
$800 ticket he paid for. That's what gives him the right to boo. He can do
It's
it.
interesting.
Hell he wants.
Some of these drivers are a little sensitive over getting booing. Talk to Kyle.
They don't
Busch
live in
here in
A
NASCAR.
country where you can say what the hell you won't say, I guess.
Yeah,
They
so
just-
I just
you know?
chuckled over that. I hate to see his
I think it's hilarious.
his consistency streak.
Max
come
don't
to
give
an
a
end.
shit.
No, Max doesn't care.
Max thinks it's funny too.
Yeah,
Anyways,
Maximilian.
I think his name's Max. Though.
His middle name's Emilian.
You know what Lewis Hamilton's full name is?
I saw it the other day.
Producer Jamie, look this up.
It's a double name, I think.
It's something you would not think.
Carter or something.
Yeah, it's like Producer Jamie.
May I? Well, per Wikipedia, his full name is Sir Lewis Carl David Hamilton.
Carl
Carl-
David.
no,
Yeah.
Carl Davidson.
Carl Davidson.
Carl Davidson.
Yes.
Okay.
Don't forget the Sir though.
Yes, Sir Lewis.
I'll look up Max for you as well.
Max Imano.
Emilion.
Emilion.
Max. Oh, it is
Yeah.
Max, and then Emilion is his middle name.
His middle name, right?
I always thought the
But
Max
it's
name
not-
was
it's
Maximilian.
not- Yeah, but it's not.
It's two separate words. It's Max Emilion.
Yeah. In America, I think we do Maximilian.
I think in most places they do Maximilian. I think, you know what? We're not
I don't know.
Belgian or.
No idea. I live in America, and I've seen
Yeah,
it
you
that
know,
way
hey.
in America.
That's how he does it. Good for
Yeah.
him.
So I forget where we are in the race, but Hamilton,
George Russell.
about halfway through, I thought he was going to win. Anyways, he didn't. Oh, sorry, we haven't got there yet.
I think your bias is showing. Alex.
No, I'm no bias. Yeah, I'm biased, but it's okay. We are all biased in our own ways, and sometimes We wear it on our sleeves. Sometimes you try to hide it. I prefer to wear mine on my sleeve.
Yeah, you're actually wearing it right.
Oh, it's on my chest.
Yeah, you've always hated Mercedes, so
Yeah.
You
I've always
you
been
like, you like to drink the Red Bull, so to speak.
more of a Ferrari, BMW. I always thought Mercedes were not for me.
Yeah, I want one of those Alpines, man. Those blue cars they got,
Bro,
they're
I like
sharp.
Alpine's swag.
El Plan.
Yeah, well, the swag, man. Their shirts and all the shit, the hats and shit. The Kamoa. I like the Alonso swag, man.
Did you see Otmar's face after Ocon's?
Oh yeah, he
passing?
was pissed.
Oh, I've never seen someone so devastated.
Okay, so good transition right here, bro. Love it. Ocon in the Alpine. This is like what, 15 laps to go? His car dies. Like just dies. Like he passes Max. He's on his way, like, to 8th place, 7th place, some shit like that. Good
He's having a
job.
great run. Yeah, he started 15th. I thought he was in that initial wreck too because he couldn't move his suspension or his
Well,
steering
there were a
wheel.
lot of cars that got messed up on that initial wreck that came back.
They were able to fix his car apparently on the red flag.
Yeah.
For him to work his way up to 7th or wherever he was at this point. Yeah.
But so all right, so just a quick little break, nothing big. But we're back.
You had to get yourself
Dude,
a Red Bull.
I had to get myself a Red Bull. No,
An Irish Cricket.
an Irish Cricket. For the last 15 laps. All right, so Ocon, like his car dies. Otmar, how do you say his name?
I have no idea how you pronounce his last name. I just call him Otmar.
Otmar.
The team principal for Alpine.
So Otmar puts his face palm. What's that? Shaking my head. SMH, bro.
It was a very depressed face.
Very depressed face, like SMH.
It was almost like that's my number one driver.
No, it's not though. Is it?
I think Ocon's their number one.
I think Ocon's pretty good. He's got a race win, doesn't he? He's won a race.
Yeah, he won at Hungary last year.
Yeah. He's pretty good actually. I think.
Yeah, I've become a believer in him.
Yeah,
and I think
he's not bad.
Otmar is too.
Is he a pay driver though? Do we need to distinguish what is a pay driver for the audience, the newer folks on the line today?
No, I think because I don't know that I can necessarily tell you what a pay driver is.
I can tell you what a pay driver is.
Niki Lauda was a pay driver.
Well, okay, fair.
I think certain. I think there can be certain.
Touche.
I do think Ocon has had a history with Otmar going back to the Racing Point days in those pink cars, the BWT sponsorship.
Well, they got BWT still now.
Well, that was with Racing
But
Point.
yeah.
And then
Your point.
They went to Aston Martin last year, and they couldn't run the pink cars anymore, and I think that caused them to leave. So they're at Alpine now, reunited with Ocon and Otmar, who left Aston Martin this past offseason to formerly Racing Point to go there to the Alpine team to lead things there. So they do. I think they are a team that can be contending for wins, possibly this year. I mean, like we just talked about, they did get a win last year.
Well, Alonso just qualified third. Last race and
second.
Yeah.
I'd love to see Alonso get another win.
Bro, that'd be so much fun.
He had a great race today, so I think that's kind of where we were going with that. With
he did have a good race.
With Ocon's issue, it did open the doors for the safety car to come out, and I can't recall, but I think most teams came down to put on red tires.
All right, so I do want to make the point. Alonso had a good race. I think he finished P5, if I'm not mistaken.
He did.
And I think Ocon would have been, P6 maybe. So, but he breaks down, all right? So Otmar's upset, and safety car comes out because Ocon pulls over to the side of the road, And in Formula One, apparently, sometimes they don't do the safety car. Sometimes they do. This time they decided to. All right. All the cars except for who come down pit road and take soft tires. All of them except for who?
Well, at this point, I think I was hanging some laundry outside because the race was running long. I come back in to notice that it looked like every driver had red tires on except for Leclerc. And I'm thinking, my God, they left him out and everyone else came down to pit.
They left Leclerc out to dry. Again.
Lewis Hamilton knows that.
Again, man. So they did this in Monaco. If we can go back a couple races, Ferrari and strategy do not mix, apparently. Because they fucked up Monaco.
Today, I think it worked out quite well.
And Leclerc was leading that race. And they said, we don't want you to win. We don't want Ferrari to win at all. So they just left him out there. What'd they do this time? Just left him out there on hard, old-ass tires with 6 people behind him on fresh, soft, red, fast, beautiful tires.
Ferrari had to play that, though. If you think about it, remember when Leclerc finally got by Sainz, and that they told Leclerc to get past Sainz. It was around the midway point. I think this was just a full circle type of thing. Ferrari had to play that strategy. They had to have their leaders stay out, Leclerc on the old tires, and they had Sainz come in to get the reds to cover anything else anyone else might have done. They had to do it, and they were in a fortunate enough position to be able to do that because they were top 2 at the time. So it makes sense, and I guess that's why I don't know why they had Sainz do it as opposed to Leclerc. But I do think it probably had a little bit to do with giving back the favor from earlier in the race. Because Sainz started the race up ahead of Leclerc.
So Ferrari didn't screw up strategy per se. It was just this is what we gotta keep Leclerc out there, the leader, because you don't want to pit the leader and then a bunch of people go past him.
Ferrari didn't screw up the strategy.
And so everybody else pit because the leader stayed out.
I mean, if you look at who won the race, I think Ferrari made the calls they had to do. The one that really got bit from it was Leclerc, certainly. And I understandably, I think he was quite upset after the race. He's been upset the last few races. Like you said, Monaco was a bad one. So if it's not reliability, it's calls that aren't favoring Leclerc necessarily. And they haven't really helped Ferrari at times, Monaco being a perfect example of it. Today it was executed, I think, in the best way they could have done. They made sure one of their cars was able to go on and take the checkered flag.
So the restart, you got Leclerc first, Sainz second, Perez fourth.
Oh, at this point, no, Hamilton is third. Hamilton's third, and this is where Perez all of a sudden is back in contention.
Back in contention.
All race, just after that first lap incident with Leclerc, he's all of a sudden back, and that's when I'm thinking, man, we got a new player.
He had a hell of a drive, man.
He did, and
he got lucky with the safety car, but sometimes you gotta have good luck. You make your own luck.
He's got a great car.
I don't know. There's a saying about luck that I want to say, but I can't remember what it is. Yeah, you make your own luck. Is that?
You want me to look it up?
Producer James is gonna look up the fucking joke, but we'll continue. All right, so I forget what we were talking about.
We were talking
the
about
luck
the
that
final
Perez
restart.
was getting, right? You got the lucky safety car,
and we got Perez lining up fourth,
right?
With Alfonso and Norris in fifth and sixth.
Alfonso, all right. We need to go ahead.
I know Alonso.
We're gonna.
Alfonso is my nickname for him. Don't ask
we
me
got
why.
nicknames for people. You'll come across them when you come across them, and you'll be like, oh no, that's just a nickname. You didn't actually screw it up. But all right, so the restart is nuts, right? Do you remember what happened during that restart? That was a few hours ago.
The restart was one of those moments I'd like to call a holy spit moment, where I sometimes stop laying down on my couch and stand up to watch what's going on. That's what I would describe the first lap or so after the restart. Yes,
Yeah, that was a holy spit moment.
it was very holy.
It was nuts, man. So you had,
I felt like I was watching a NASCAR race again.
I mean, it was, I think, turn 3 or 4, whatever that is, going down that straight that I can't remember the name of. You know, people remember the names of these corners and these
Cops
straights,
Corner.
and no, it wasn't.
The
Cops,
Wellington Straight.
No, it was the other one.
The Beef Wellington Straight.
I think it was like the Hanger Straight, because it used to be like an old. Oh, fun fact: Silverstone used to be an old airfield, I believe, back in the day.
I learned that today. I believe during the broadcast they were saying that. Yes.
Bro. So the Hanger Straight makes sense because they got hangars at airports and shit. So I think that's where Sainz passed Leclerc to take the final lead, if you will, and then Leclerc is kind of fading. So Leclerc kind of comes back into Hamilton, or Hamilton kind of catches up to Leclerc.
He's playing defense for the other Ferrari at this point.
But as this happens, right, you got Perez and Hamilton, they're battling themselves. And Perez and Hamilton go off track at one point, right?
Yeah, they do. They do go off track, and all the while still trying to chase down Leclerc. I forget. Yeah, I think it was on that very next lap where, on that last chicane that you have there, where they all three of them almost got together,
dude.
And that was and it was Perez trying to get past Leclerc. Still couldn't do it. And then Hamilton came out of nowhere. The crowd goes wild, and that's when I get off my seat. I'm pulling for Hamilton at this point. The most winning driver. He wins all the time, right? But hey, he's been terrible this year. It would have been cool to see him get a win in his home track. At the same time, you got Carlos Sainz up there trying to pull away from all this mess in the lead, and
during this, I think Carlos
starts and no wins yet to this point.
I think Carlos pulls out like a 4-second lead, like with them three battling. But what an amazing battle that was! I think, to me, best racing of the season, bar none.
I can't dispute that. The number of cars that were in it. I know we've had some good races this year. I think going back to probably the second race of the season. Between Verstappen and Leclerc, that was a good one-on-one battle. But really here you had a lot of different storylines. You had Sainz with the early start. Verstappen takes his usual lead, then has the uncharacteristic issue that puts Sainz back in it. But then Leclerc, they take turns battling for the lead. Yeah, it looks like Leclerc's going to get the win at one point. But then, as we mentioned, Hamilton starts coming on strong. Quarter of the way, halfway through the race, and then you start thinking he can win. And then on that last restart, there was still, before Sainz checked out, you had that thought that Hamilton or even Perez at that point could, if they could get by Leclerc, they could make it interesting. And they did, just not.
They finally did all settle out, right?
Yeah.
So you had Perez in second, finish P2. We had Hamilton on the podium, right?
Yeah, second straight podium for him.
2 podiums in a row for Mercedes. 3, I think, if you count Russell, right? 3 podiums in a row?
Well, let's see.
Russell's had a good year all year.
Yeah, I don't know who got because it was Canada 2 weeks ago. Then before that, Baku. I don't know who finished third.
So Mercedes is coming up. They're bringing the heat as of late, I feel like. And then you had Leclerc 4th. Was Alonso 5th?
Alonso was 5th. I believe that was his best finish of the year.
Yeah, good.
He's
good drive by Alonso.
Yeah, he's on a nice little run of points finishes.
And I'm saving, P1 for, I guess, right now. So, P1, man. First win ever in Formula One for Carlos.
Good for him. Good for him.
Round of applause for Mr. Carlos Sainz Jr., I believe.
Carlos Sainz Jr. I know he's finished second quite a number
Spaniard,
of times already.
The smooth operator.
Well, it's great for him.
Are you a Sainz fan, Garrett? He's not.
I'm a fan of anyone that wins for the first time. So
yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I don't have favorite drivers. I'm part of the media. I'm not allowed to have favorite
Hey,
drivers.
so if I can jump in here with a question for you fellas, you experts. I mean, do you think it's good for the sport when you have, a new winner, first timer? Because it does seem like it's often kind of the same rotating cast of 2 or 3 drivers who are winning everything.
Well, that's a great point.
Yeah, I think it's good for the
Really, in F1, yeah, it's amazing when you. I think since 2014, we've probably had 9 or 10 different drivers that have won an F1 race. 9 or 10.
We need to fact check that shit, but I believe it.
I fact checked it a few years ago, and I think Gasly and Ocon and Nettle Sainz have since won. So I think it's up to 10 since 2014.
I'm still waiting on Lando to win, man.
He'll have his day. He should have won it in Russia last year.
What did he finish this race?
6.
Yeah, he
6.
finished 6. Yeah, so he's McLaren. No doubt, McLaren's been having a down year. But I think
Ricardo. What did he finish? Did we find out what Ricardo finished?
Yeah, Ricardo finished 13th. He was
13th.
Yeah, he was a lap down at one point.
Bro, McLaren's not having a good year.
Well, they're not. They're having a down year. Ricardo's having an awful year.
Yeah,
Norris
really bad.
is not so bad.
We love Ricardo though.
Norris is 6th or 7th in the points. So.
I want Ricardo to do well.
Ricardo's going to have his own TV show now.
I like Lando too, though.
On he I don't know the name of the show, but it's going to be
His
on
own
Hulu.
show.
Yeah. I get
Not
it.
Drive to Survive,
It's not Drive to Survive,
which is basically his show.
It's Hulu's version of it. I don't know what it's called. Producer Jamie can tell us, I'm sure.
Weird.
They
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they just announced it this week. It's fresh
That's
news.
cool.
Yeah, I guess he's not
I probably won't watch it. I like Danny Rick, but not that much. I don't want to watch a show about him.
I don't like Hulu that much. If it was on Netflix or something, I'd probably give it a chance. But
I mean, I'd drink a beer with him. I just don't want to watch a show about him.
you know what I like about Daniel Ricciardo though?
What's that?
He's a NASCAR fan.
Is
That's
he?
why
Oh, he drove in the NASCAR, didn't he? It was an old school NASCAR.
Yeah, I think that happened recently. There was like a Dell Senior replica car he got to ride in or something. But the number 3 on his car is tribute to Dale Earnhardt.
Oh, really?
The drivers get to pick their numbers now in F1, and he's been driving the 3. I think pretty much his whole F1 career.
Yeah, I think once he's retired from F1, he'll probably go race other series and probably will be in the U.S.
I'd love to see him come to the U.S. and do racing series. I like that crossover when an F1 driver.
Like a Grosjean?
Most recently with Grosjean, when they make that switch. Yeah, I think it's good. And now that we're getting a little more cross promotion, more United States events for the F1 races, I think it's bringing more exposure to the other racing series out here.
It's exciting.
Yeah, so I think I don't know what the future for Ricardo holds. Certainly after this year, it sounds like his seat with McLaren could very well be in doubt with the way he's doing compared to Norris.
True.
So
Jamie wants to
I can't find a name on the Ricardo show, but it does say that it is a scripted series with Hulu. Which I think is kind of interesting.
That is interesting.
So
he's going to be a TV star.
He must be going to Hollywood.
Oh, he's got the smile for it.
That is according to the Hollywood Reporter.
All right, so Verstappen, I think, finished 8th.
Yeah, so that's what you wanted to talk about. That was
Mick Schumacher.
That was a very exciting
big win for Mick today. Verstappen finished 7th.
So
Mick finished 8th, bro.
His very first points finish. Good for him.
I'm so happy for Mick. It makes my heart melt to know a Schumacher scored some points, man.
I tell you, I think everyone.
I wasn't there for the first guy, but I know the greatness. I can respect it, and I love to see it.
I think everyone was happy to see that, and everyone been waiting for it. Sebastian Vettel, I know was.
Oh, he was crying over that, dude.
I bet.
He said he was yelling in the car afterwards. Go Mick!
Well, he might have had the best view of it because I believe
he was right behind him. I think he finished 9th. Yeah.
Or he had a points finish for sure.
Yep.
But yeah, I think with Schumacher, the deal is, listen, last year when he was a rookie with Mazepin. I think he got maybe a little too much praise, maybe in the sense that he was always the highest. It seemed to be he was the best qualifier of the two, the best racer of the two.
So Mazepin was
just so bad.
I want to say it, but I'm not going to. Respect, fuck it, he's Russian. Mazepin was fucking terrible, and he made Schumacher look good, right?
You wanna talk
Wasn't
about
that
pay- you
Schumacher
wanna
was
talk
like
about pay
great
drivers.
last year?
He was your
You just made him look better than he was.
he was your vintage pay driver, but I think at the time we all wanted Mick Schumacher to do really well. And driving a Haas, that's not going to happen. But you can at least compare yourself to your teammate. And Mazepin, yeah, as we realized, was he didn't lose his ride because of performance, but he might as well have, because he was not great. They put in Kevin Magnussen this year, and Magnussen's had, more so at the beginning of the year, has had some fantastic finishes, and he's been out qualifying and outrunning Mick.
He's been doing pretty good
up until recently, and with today, with Mick getting that points finish, I think we can all be really happy for him to get that points finish. I don't know what the rest of his career holds. He's still so young, but I think you also look, I mean, there was only 15 cars running at the end of today's race, so it was a pretty high attrition race.
True.
Having said that, I was happy for him, and it was great. I don't think anyone predicted seeing him and Verstappen battle for a position, a points position at the end of today.
To score points, first you got to finish the race, man. You know?
Absolutely. That's what Richard Petty once said, or something along the lines of
It's a little different. I think it's like to finish first. First you got to
first
finish.
must finish, yes.
But yeah, anyways, it was a good race. I enjoyed it. The final lineups, I think, were we went through. We got that's the wrong one. I got it in here.
Yeah, our
somewhere.
podium was Sainz, and then we had Perez.
Yeah, Sainz, Perez, and Hamilton. Yeah.
So two of our three from the last race in Canada.
Yep.
Sainz and Hamilton were on the podium there as well. Different Red Bull driver this time.
And my notes are cash, man. That's
Yeah.
the race.
Yeah, then we had Leclerc.
Good
finish
fucking race.
Fourth. Yeah. One
I
other,
say the F word too much. I realize we'll edit that stuff maybe.
Well, that's okay. I think it depends on who our audience is.
True. I mean, you kind of want the E, I think, on it though. You know, for everyone.
Everyone hears that word nowadays.
True.
So.
I mean, you know, you got any final thoughts for us before we go on to our next segment?
Well, I'm really looking forward to Red Bull Ring. I think that's next on the schedule. Be curious to see if Max can bounce back and get a win there.
Yeah.
Again. But yeah, I think this might have been the best race in F1 this year, just because of the competitiveness. You had three different manufacturers I thought could have won, whereas I think every other race it's been one or two.
And that Red Bull Ring is in 7 days, right?
I hope so. I don't want another off week. They're off all of August, so I think we might be in at the start of a triple header where they race the next 2 weeks.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, so I think we'll get Hungary and Red Bull in this month. So
That's good.
good classic tracks right there.
All right, everybody. I guess that wraps us up for today. Next week we will have another race preview or review coming up, and thanks for listening to the F1Wonderful podcast. We'll see you next week.